right to search the girls.
Yeah, I done enough of that.
Hey, you old scroungy old alley cat. Get out of them garbage cans,
You talking to me, Jack?
What the hell you doing there anyway?
Hey, man, here we are on the brink of the apocalypse, the eve of destruction, so to speak. And I can't think of anything to do.
Well, offhand, son, I'd say you have got a problem.
Yeah.
Ha ha. But at least you're honest. The revolution can use a man like you.
Hey.
Hop on.
Far out.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie. We are part of the Main Damie Network, and to find more from us, check out the website at themaindamie.com or on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Main Damie. We're also now a proud member of Geek Vibes Nation. You can find them at gvnation.com. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio, and with me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Myers. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey, everyone.
I'll apologize right up front. I am currently playing the Super Tuesday drinking game, so if I leave the podcast early, just make sure you don't acknowledge it.
Okay. So now, did someone win Super Tuesday? Is that how it works? Someone
This
wins?
is not a political podcast, guys.
I don't know how it works. I am desperately trying to derail this podcast from the start because this I'm not even going to call this a movie.
But they called this a movie.
They call this a
Well, I'm not calling it a movie. They can call whatever they want. I call it an abomination. And Anthony gave me a little bit of information last night as I was watching this, and it blew my mind that it's true. To me, it's still not true how much this made in terms of revenue. That's really when you figure there's no hope. Like, we've been going downhill as a society for ever, and I feel like this is where it kind of really took that swan dive.
Right.
Anything I could do to stop this, I am all for.
Well, before we get too far into this podcast, we won't beat around the bush too much. This week in theaters is the brand new Pixar film Onward, kind of a fantasy story that we tried very hard to come up with either a fantasy movie or a Pixar movie or a Disney movie that we could do. And we kind of struck out a lot. We were talking maybe do Black Cauldron because that's kind of notorious for the bad years in Disney. And then we even kicked around a couple of the worst Pixar movies. But then we decided, mostly because it was on Amazon Prime, we decided to sit down this week and watch Fritz the Motherfucking Cat from 1972. Boy. Gentlemen, where are you coming from with Fritz the Cat?
I think my dad kicked me out of the room to watch this film at one point when I was a kid, but I can't. It was either that or heavy metal.
Okay. I feel like it's probably heavy metal.
I think so too, but I think I watched a little bit of heavy metal, but I'm almost positive I was in my old townhouse. I was really young, and this came on, and my dad just he kicked me out, like legit gave me the boot. You know what I mean? Just like, get out of here. And I don't know how that makes me feel about my dad. Like, he obviously did the right thing of kicking me out, but I don't like that he watched it potentially. Nothing about this is a good thing. Sure. I don't think there's any positive outcomes to when you watch this. Okay. Right? It's just all
a feel bad movie in 1972.
That's an understatement. This thing was, I don't know how we advanced after this. I really don't. I'm baffled.
Yeah. All right, Mark.
Yeah, so I didn't put two and two together when you was first talking about doing this movie, and then you posted that thing on Twitter saying the rating system thing with everything being severe.
Sure.
On IMDb, and I was like, oh, did he pick another movie? Couldn't be talking about the animated movie he wanted to do this week. Within the first 5 minutes, I was like, this might be a mistake. But the whole thing with this movie, it was just, I wasn't around at the time or had more intimate knowledge of the time period it's trying to satire that I might have understood how this did as well as it did. But yeah, it was a complete just baffled and slightly uncomfortable at times throughout this entire movie.
Sure. Had either of you kind of, as Dan mentioned, he might have almost seen it when he was a kid, but did you have a peripheral knowledge of the movie?
Not at all. The closest I came was my mom had asked me what movie we were doing, and I mentioned it, and she was like, I think I heard of that. And in my head, just like Dan's, it's like, oh God, I hope not. I hope.
Yeah, I had heard of this movie, and I had known its reputation as being
No
filthy.
idea.
But again, it's just like 1972, right? So my parents were born in the 50s, so they definitely were old enough to see this. And then it's just like there's a real possibility that they went and saw this in the theater, especially with how much money it made.
Yeah.
There's a strong possibility, and that's just hugely disappointing. That's awful.
Yeah.
I'd rather have walked in on them doing it than know that they were watching this movie.
I don't really know where my peripheral knowledge of this movie was. I guess going through film school, you kind of start going through wormholes about a whole bunch of different rabbit holes, I should say, of different movies and counterculture movies of the time, and then you read up on this shit. But I've never seen it before till this week. Yeah, it's the most culturally important movie we've ever covered. We'll say that. Culturally significant at the very least. It's the first X-rated animated film ever made, as Dan had mentioned. So its U.S. box office was $25 million, but worldwide, Fritz the Cat made $90 million on a budget of $700,000. So this is an absolute box office smash hit. Everybody got paid with this movie.
Yeah. My thought is like showing a person that's in current like Gen Z in their preteens right now when they get older, showing them like Team America, and I could see them being just as baffled as to why that was as popular as it was.
Before we get too far into this episode, I just kind of wanted to have a little disclaimer here. There are a lot of very serious themes in this movie, and we're going to do our best to come at it with a light of not glorifying the awful, reprehensible depictions of women, of African American people, and it's not gonna be easy. We're gonna take this with kid gloves, and I think we're going to do our best to be sensitive to a lot of the themes and a lot of the movie here. But we might fuck up. We're gonna hope that we don't, but we appreciate if you constructively tell us that we fucked up so we can do better the next time. We're just trying to cover this movie as best we can. Fritz the Cat, directed by Ralph Bakshi. And you might know that name from his other films, Wizards, Heavy Traffic, the Lord of the Rings film, animated movie, and Cool World. There's also another one that I will not name because it's pretty close to being another reprehensible name for a movie. This is obviously based on the comic strip from Robert Crumb, started in 1965, showed up in Zap Comics, where it kind of became like this huge underground hit. It stars the voices of Skip Hinnant, Rosetta Lenoir, who is the grandmother from Family Matters, John McCurry, Judy Engels, Phil Suling, and Ralph Bakshi himself has a voice in this movie.
I think he's a narrator, right?
No, he was one of the cops.
Wow.
I don't know which one. Has an IMDb score of 6.3 and a Rotten Tomato score of 58%.
What?
Yeah.
58?
Right there in the middle.
Everything about this is just blowing my mind.
Yeah. This is obviously a satire. I think the satire 48 years later is a little lost on a new generation. I don't know if it played very well in 1972, coming at it from somebody that is trying to meet this movie halfway. I don't know what the overall message kind of is, a little cloudy. This movie has one effective scene, and we'll get into it, where the point and the message is clearer, and then it kind of, because this is narratively, it's episodic. There are 3 major stories in this. So I don't think there's a cohesive kind of overall message in it, other than Fritz the Cat might be the worst protagonist in the history of film. He is the most unlikable.
Yes.
He doesn't learn a fucking lesson, and he's just a piece of shit.
Yeah, and he is the least perceptive character.
Yes. And I think that's the point.
Yeah.
I think he represents a characterization of 1960s white college kids that are progressive left, and Ralph Bakshi decided to take him to task, those kinds of people to task in this movie. I don't know to what cause, Like I said, I think there's moments in this movie where he makes a point that is a valid point, but is muddled by reprehensible depictions of minority characters. That kind of are two forces that are working against each other to kind of come away with something that is meaningful.
The one thing I noticed, I don't know of our listeners who have seen any Ralph Bakshi movies, he has a very unique animation style, especially with Lord of the Rings. Did he? I think he also did The Hobbit, didn't he?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I thought he did, but the way he depicts certain characters, sometimes they're all black and you just see their eyes, and it carries over into Fritz. But I always thought with even Cool World, his art is very different from, say, Disney or DreamWorks or whoever was big in the animation game. With Fritz, I felt like an amateur artist was doing this movie. Everything is like the colors aren't very, they don't pop. Everything's very drab. And it just didn't reflect. I don't know if it was the point that he was trying to come across, that it's the 70s in New York, which was real shitty. And I get that. But I can't remember any of the background, really. Everything just kind of blends together, except for there's one scene where it's really horrific and the city's like burning. Yeah. But other than that, I didn't get a feel for a Ralph Bakshi movie here. I don't know what they were trying to. I don't know what he was doing, really.
Sure, and I think there might be some production reasons for that. $700,000, so the money did not go far. This is his first feature film, and they cut some corners in order to try and get the costs down. I think they said they didn't do pencil tests, so all the timing and everything like that was a guess more than anything else. Okay. So that could be the reason for it. Just to answer a point, Hobbit was done by Rankin Bass, the guys behind Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the like.
I think, you know what's weird? So I think Ralph Bakshi did The Fellowship of the Ring and The Two Towers, and then I think Rankin Bass did The Return of the King. I can't remember where I heard that, but it sounds familiar. Anyway, it's just a little point of trivia, but it just didn't feel like a Ralph Bakshi movie to me. Has anyone big covered this movie before?
Like in terms of like Red Letter Media or
yeah, like how did this get made?
I don't believe so.
Fucking cowards. That's why we're here.
I wonder if Nostalgia Critic ever did.
We should just spend the rest of the movie just calling out other podcasts instead of talking about this movie.
Hey, any heat is good heat.
Fucking coward.
Fucking cowards. Pussy. I can't think, because I don't think Nostalgia Critic did this either. Again, not saying they have to, but I feel like there's a reason why. It's really hard to get around. Like when we get to the plot, I am fascinated to hear how you're going to do this. I cannot wait to see how you describe this plot.
The only thing that I noticed, because I did a little more research into it, because I was just baffled and curious. The one cost-cutting measure that I thought was quite interesting that he did, and I don't know how you would have been able to control it, was that he did some of the stuff where he's like recorded real conversations.
Yes.
And then he also brought in Black Panthers and things like that to record, just told them to talk and he'd edit it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's a pretty interesting way of, well, it's union busting a little bit for not having to pay voice actors. But, it's like, okay, that he was, at least there seems to be an attempt that he was trying to get it like as real as possible.
Yeah, sure. But, and those, there are 3 moments in the film where those kind of real conversations come up.
But it's like you said in our chat before this movie, it's just, even with all that, it still just felt like a giant swing and a miss for things he was trying to do. At least to somebody that's probably, we're probably 2 generations removed from people that would have at least got some of the satire.
Yeah, I mean, Gen X was still too young, right?
Yeah, so this
they came of age in the 80s, so they're just getting born. Okay, well, we're going to try to get into the plot. And before we do, I think, Dan, you have kind of a little message.
I do, and it's a message of hope and love and anti-Fritz the cat. I wanted to plug our good friend Tia from Geek Vibes Nation with her podcast, The Top 10 with Tia, a weekly podcast where Tia and her crew tackle a number of entertaining topics like the top 10 movies of the year or the top 10 worst on-screen couples, etc. This podcast has it all Don't miss out. So that's every week. I think this week they did the top 10 prematurely canceled shows or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Top 10 shows canceled too soon. Does that
There
sound?
you go.
There you
Yeah. So, they had Daredevil on there, the whole Marvel Netflix series and all that.
Sure.
So yeah, there's just a lot of interesting topics. And Tia's a great person. She's one of the leaders of Geek Vibes Nation, so go check it out.
Big fan of the show.
She is, yeah. She has a glowing endorsement every time we post something. I don't know if she's lying because she's like, "You guys are hilarious." I'm just like,
That's just
not
your
true.
self-confidence, Dan.
I was like, "That's not true. We're not hilarious.
We're at least funnier than Fritz the cat.
Well,
That's true. Yeah.
yes. I don't think I laughed at all. Were there jokes in this movie?
Well, that was like
can't
a lot
remember.
of the glowing reviews in the 1970s was about how funny it is. And I don't fucking see it, man.
No,
Yeah,
even at that age. I mean, I know humor, it changes through the decades, but where was the humor?
Yeah,
I
and
don't know.
just want to give, she hasn't done it already, a free topic for Tia, top 10 moments in Snowpiercer.
Ooh.
So,
She loves that. She's a big Christopher Evans fan, I think.
Yeah.
So anytime
Me
Christopher Evans
and
shows
her yelled at Jawan to watch the
such a
last
good
time I was
movie.
on the podcast.
So,
Quality
yeah,
film,
yeah,
which is what we
Unlike-
don't cover here.
right. Hey, that has no place within these walls.
Yeah, so we're going to get into the plot, but before we do, we're going to hear a couple more messages from friends of the podcast, so we will be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Steve,
And this is Adam,
and we're part of the Hop Nation USA podcast.
Pittsburgh's #3 craft beer podcast.
Join us every Friday for new beer reviews.
We'll talk about the news, history, and homebrewing.
Plus, we'll sit down with the best brewers and industry personalities that'll have us,
So whether you're a casual drinker, a hazy boy hophead,
or even if you're a whale hunting cellar hoarder.
just search Hop Nation USA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher and join the nation.
Oh hi, didn't see you there. It's me, George, from the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest at least. We've talked about groundbreaking classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Alien, but we've also got a lot of great ones coming up, including some very fun guests like Len Kabaczynski of Swamp Zombies and Red Letter Media fame, Caroline Williams, the star of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Chase Williamson from John Dies at the End. So make sure you're subscribed to the best little horror house in Philly, and I'll see you boils and ghouls over there.
Welcome back, and now it's time to get into the plot of 1972's Fritz the Cat. We open on title card, it says just the 1960s, and we open on a conversation between three steelworkers about sending their kids to college and having their daughter living with a guy. This is one of those conversations that were real, recorded by Ralph Bakshi. They threw it in the movie. And then we immediately get Dick, Horse Dick to be specific, as one of them stands up on steel beam to pee, and he winds up peeing on a passerby, a hippie specifically. And then we get Fritz the Cat.
Definitely sets the tone for this movie.
Yeah.
Guy getting pissed on.
So we get some titles, and then we open up on Washington Square Park, where we get a hype song for Fritz the Cat, similar to something you'd hear in Shaft or something, talking about how he's fought a whole bunch of men and laid a whole bunch of women and been there, been everywhere. But Fritz, as far as we can tell, hasn't done a damn thing of any interest in his entire life. He's just a boring old college kid who's playing shitty guitar in Washington Square Park, which has a bunch of college kids playing shitty guitar there.
The one thing that I don't understand in this movie, so a lot of the animals, they have like the whole Winnie the Pooh thing going on where they only wear a shirt and no pants.
Yeah.
So we've already established that there's Dick in this movie very quickly, right? We see Dong. So why are we not just constantly seeing Dong in this movie?
It's a good question. I know cats, if you ever owned a cat, you know that you don't see Dick usually.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I always thought that cats don't have dicks. It's just they're all female. Cats are all female.
No.
And dogs are all male.
Male cats. There are male cats, and if you've ever seen a cat penis, you lose sleep after it because it is not a sight to see.
I'm actually about to lose sleep talking about it, to be honest.
So we're gonna move on.
Move on.
This is what Fritz the Cat does to us. We're talking about cat penis. But anyway, Fritz is there with his college buddies, and he's trying to meet girls with these guitars, as any white college kid would do. Trying to play awful music. Let's get three girls come by, so they break out their guitars, and he screeches like a cat would screech if you kind of ran him over. And then they go off and start talking to a crow. And here's the first part where it's difficult to say. So Fritz is upset that the girls go and talk to the crow, but he doesn't say crow or black person. He uses
a derogatory term.
Yeah, a certain suit in a deck of cards, and
Yes.
we're not talking about clubs. So.
Yeah. Oh, God, it's so cringeworthy.
Yeah. And the drawing of the crow is even more cringeworthy because they are basically faceless. He's got a pair of sunglasses on, but otherwise he is a complete void of details other than the clothes he wears. As the girls talk to the crow about just how progressive they are, and saying is like, why can't James Earl Jones ever play a man that's not black? Something to the effect of, people say that Jewish people are the closest thing to black people, and I'm part Jewish.
Oh,
so.
that's right. What the hell? What the hell?
Yeah, and then
Where
even
is
the
this
more
coming from?
yeah, and then even the more mundane when she says she took some black studies classes in school. Like everything about this conversation was bad.
The only thing they were missing was basically one of them saying, "I have a black friend."
Yeah.
That's all they needed to complete this racist. I don't even. It's not even a trifecta because they said a bunch of things, but
yeah, they've said plenty of things. It's supposed to be kind of shining a light on kind of performative progressiveness. It's sort of like in Get Out when Bradley Whitford's like, I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could have. That sort of kind of thing. So it's trying to hold that same light up to the racist white progressives, I should say. If you're saying racist white conservatives, and the caricature of that as a Ku Klux Klan member, and the racist white progressives are kind of what we're seeing here. Very more subtle racism rather than overt.
Right. I think it's supposed to be these people who think they're helping.
Yes.
When in turn they're dumb. They're not doing anything to help.
And that becomes a theme with serious consequences towards the middle of the film. So the girls fawn over all this crow. Eventually he pipes up and he basically says, "I'm gay, you girls are barking up the wrong tree."
Is that what that meant?
Bitches. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
I didn't really know. I was like, oh, I guess he's just telling them to fuck off or whatever. In like 60s slang. I was like, I don't know. But okay, that makes more sense.
So Fritz kind of sees this whole thing play out, and then as the girls are left, they're kind of slack-jawed. He kind of comes over and acts like some sort of tortured genius in order to get the attention of the three girls. He kind of just talks about how his whole life is misery and all this kind of performative bullshit. And they fall for it, and he eventually takes them up to a pot party that his friends are having, who are just a bunch of hippies. A bunch of people smoking weed. There's probably some other drugs happening, but mostly what we're seeing is just a whole bunch of people smoking pot. And he's like, "Hey, can I hang out with these chicks?" And they're like, "Well, we're all kind of full." I'm like, "Well, the bathroom's not full. We're going in there." So takes them to the bathroom, gets them in the tub, and takes off all their clothes, and then they fuck.
And you see everything.
Oh yeah.
You like, oh man, I was shocked because I was like, all right, you're gonna see some boob. I understand that, but you see more than that.
Yep.
And it's disturbing, unnecessary, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy to see any of that.
It probably awakened a bunch of furries first time I saw it.
It could have. I was texting some friends from work about it, and one of them asked me, "Well, are you aroused?" I was like, "Who gets aroused to this?" And then, yep, furries. That makes 100% sense. Yeah, that's perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're fucking in the bathroom while the party's going on, and then the cops show up. And guess what? They're pigs. You get it?
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's what I messaged you guys. Like, oh, that's super original. They're pigs. I totally understand what they were going for. What I don't understand is that I feel like they got the roles reversed, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. So there's a rookie cop and a veteran cop of a few years at the very least. And the rookie cop sounds like this gruff kind of, open the fucking door kind of thing. And then the veteran cop is talking like this.
Yeah, he
Kinda real
sounds like a
dumb.
hick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's apparently Jewish.
Right. Right. I don't know why they needed to throw that in there, but I couldn't. Maybe they were trying to put that trope on its head where the slow-witted guy is the actual one in charge, and then the big tough guy is new to town. It didn't make any sense. It didn't help. It would have been so much better had they been reversed. No.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
you
it would have made more
tough
sense.
Guy. Right. Yeah. There's some things that you don't change. Keep the dumb guy as the rookie, and you keep the big badass guy as, the corrupt asshole.
Yeah. So the cops show up and they're like, well, this is where this party is happening and that we heard about. Why don't we go bust up this pop party? So they come up the stairs, and meanwhile, Fritz is having a good old time with the three girls, and then his buddies kind of walk in and is like, hey, what are you doing in here? Give me some of that action going on.
Jesus.
So one of the guys gets in the tub, and then the other guy gets in the tub, and before you know it, there's about like a dozen people in the tub. Everybody's fucking except for Fritz.
The entire time this is happening, by the way, the dialogue that is being spoken in this scene is complete and utter nonsense.
Yep.
The most of the dialogue in this movie is complete bullshit, and it means nothing.
Yeah.
Like, they're saying lines, but it has nothing to do with the scene. It doesn't further the plot. It's just utter nonsense.
Pretty much.
The aardvark is talking about, like, making it and how he's bad at smoking pot and, like, there's, like, existential crises.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is going on here? There's an orgy going on a foot behind you, dude, and you're talking about, like, existential shit.
It's the 60s, man.
I don't get it.
Yeah. So the cops bust down the door to the apartment and then the bathroom door, and then they beat everybody unconscious except for Fritz, who hides in the toilet. And then one of the cops, the cat girl, gets kind of tossed off the pile and into the arms of the rookie cop. So that cop starts having sex with the cat girl, and Fritz kind of emerges.
They had the very uncomfortable scene where she seduces him at first.
Sure.
And it shows everything is
she kind of opens up her legs and then closes them, and then, like, she sticks her boobs in his face, and he gets a huge erection.
He does. I forgot about that. The one thing that I like they kept, I don't know, sometimes in old cartoons, I don't know if you noticed this, but, like, when someone is all beat up or, like, dirty, they'll put a bandage in the shape of an X on them.
Mm-hmm.
So when they show the cop banging the cat, he has a bandage on his ass for some reason. But I thought that was very cute. I'm glad they kept that. Of all the things that they kept, they decided to stick with that.
Okay. So Fritz kind of floats out of the toilet because he's high as fuck. He steals the cop's gun and shoots the toilet, which floods the apartment, and everyone gets swept away. And then we get cut to a scene where a few rabbis are reading from the Torah at a synagogue. This is another one of those scenes where Ralph Bakshi was recording a few people, and I think these two people talking are actually relatives of his. And then the scene at the synagogue, Fritz hides out while the cops search for him. He sneaks into the ladies' room, and he assaults a woman, I think.
They never make it. I don't know, but it's like he tells her to, I guess, keep quiet, right, or something. I don't know.
He theoretically assaults every woman he comes in contact with.
That's a great
point. Yes.
I never really thought of it, but yeah, he puts himself on every woman he comes across, pretty much.
Yes. And he doesn't even ask permission to just feel him up out over the sweater or under the sweater, either way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the whole free love movement was going on, but
sure,
he's a little too free with his love. You know what I mean?
So the cops show up and they search high and they search low, eventually knocking down the ladies' room door. And out comes the cop, Fritz, and an immigrant woman who has had her blouse torn. So
Yeah.
and it's in Fritz's hands, the ripped clothing. So something happened.
I think the problem here, other than everything, is at any given any chance they get to show boob, they take that chance.
Sure.
And it's really like gratuitous, like if you're gonna do it, I get it, but I mean, there's a scene when they're driving through town and they go through like a clothes line, like where people would hang their clothes, old school style, and it knocks a woman off the window, and her shirt comes off for no reason.
Right.
Like, any reason they could get to show animal teat, I guess, is that how you would say it? Teats?
Sure.
They do it, and it really loses its luster after the first few minutes. I got tired of seeing animal.
Wow, just like 50 Shades of Grey.
Yep. Yeah, it really this turned me off animal boob. You lost me, Ralph.
Yeah. So while this is happening, a radio announcement comes over the radio at the synagogue. Says that the U.S. will be sending arms to Israel in exchange for the return of New York and Los Angeles. So that's an oofer if I ever heard one.
Explain that to me. What does that mean?
So what they're basically saying is that Israel controls both Los Angeles and New York.
So it was supposed to be they control the media type of thing? Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. I just wanted to double check.
Mm-hmm.
That was no good. No good. What is that? Strike two? Where are we?
Strike a lot. Yeah.
Strike a lot. All right.
I think we're going to strike out the side.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going for perfect game here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The old Steve Nebraska on this one.
I dig it.
So the rabbis rejoice and dance, and the Jewish cop has a mental breakdown over the fact that the rookie cop danced even though he's not Jewish, which came out of nowhere. Then we cut to New York at the NYU dorm room, and Fritz talks to his roommates as they try to study for exams. And meanwhile, he has a self-important monologue about how unimportant college is, that the world is happening around them. As a poet and a writer, he keeps saying that he needs to be out there living life. So he decides to take a match to all his books and papers, and eventually the fire gets out of hand, and the dorm room catches on fire, and we cut out with no idea of what happens. This is essentially the end of this story, and we get a long interlude as Bo Diddley plays. A crow dances as an establishing shot of Harlem slowly gets bigger. Then we have the scene in a Harlem bar. Are you gonna say something, Mark?
Yeah, just groaning at the whole, transition.
Yeah. This is where the movie gets very problematic, as we'll say. Harlem bar scene where once again we have these random conversations between the patrons, and we get more of these depictions of crows as black people. One of the most offensive depictions of people of color I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And Fritz walks into this Harlem bar, and he is immediately not fitting in there. The bartender kind of ignores him, as does just about everybody else. And then Fritz walks into a crow playing pool by the name of Duke, who, despite what he does, no matter what he does when he's playing pool, he can't sink a single ball. And this is kind of where the movie gets the closest to creating an overall point, as the scenes with Duke. But it's kind of undermined, as we mentioned, with the reprehensible depiction of the bar patrons. Because Fritz is kind of like, I'm here in Harlem because I get it, man. I know about race relations. I've read about it in school. And Duke kind of basically just says, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about because you're not a crow. And until you're a crow, you're never going to understand what the race instability is like. So they're talking, and then Fritz accidentally knocks Duke's pool cue, and then all the balls go into the hole. So Duke kind of takes a shine to him, and he's like, I'm going to buy you a drink, Fritz. And Fritz immediately calls the bartender away.
Yeah. I feel like that was probably, is that worse than the first thing they called them?
Yes.
It is, right? In terms of
implication.
The hierarchy of terrible things to call African Americans. Yeah, they do everything but the big one.
Yes.
Right.
Well, Fritz never uses it. Let's just say that.
Right. Oh, do other...
Diseased.
Oh, yeah. You're right. It is. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. The only thing is, I think this is the only time where something despicable is said, and there actually seems to be a consequence to it slightly.
But not even, because then Duke sticks up for Fritz.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's all the the implications and what am I trying to say?
Repercussions?
All the repercussions happen to Duke and the people around Fritz rather than Fritz himself.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's basically how the crows are paying the price of the cat.
Correct. So basically, the relationship between Duke and Fritz creates that, and it's ultimately the reason for Duke's downfall. The reason why Duke, spoiler alert, eventually dies is because of Fritz, and Fritz sees no consequences for any of his actions, especially in this sequence of events.
Right. Yeah, it just, this is such a heavy movie to begin with, I think. Yeah. And it really has some light-hearted parts where there shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like people are getting beaten. Oh, but then they go on a road trip. There's people getting shot at and killed. But then there's like a joke right afterwards. And, you know, Fritz is calling people, you know, African Americans boy, and then he's having sex with a crow. It's like, what the hell's going on? It's so racially, like tonally, everything. It's just deaf in any sense of the word.
Yeah, like I said earlier, this is kind of where it's the closest to making a point. This relationship between Duke and Fritz. Mm-hmm. Overall, what this movie is trying to say is basically like, you know, rich white college kids. They're joining the revolution and they think they're helping, but they're not. You know, the riot in this movie happens because of Fritz. Nobody is asking for a revolution. Duke is telling them, you know, you're gonna start shit. Stop. But he's like, no, this needs to be said. Everybody's got to rise up and overtake the oppressors. And everybody's like, you need to shut the fuck up, man.
Right. But again, it's so Duke sticks up for Fritz. I thought it was clever how they played the whole white and black thing with cat and crow, because obviously throughout, you know, in the animal kingdom, cats hunt birds and other animals, so they kind of took it that way instead of it just being like, oh, as a white man, you know, I've caused black people misery. But at the same time, they tell you that white and black people exist. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I
will correct you on one thing. Mm-hmm. They depict black people as crows in this movie,
right?
And then white people are everything else they want to be.
Oh, so it's like the pigs, the aardvark, the dogs, whatever.
Rabbits, horses.
Right. The lizards, I guess.
Lizards, all white people.
It was just weird because they did say, Fritz does say, you know, as a cat, I've caused crows a lot of inconvenience or whatever, like heartache. He says something along those lines, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he's more talking about the white guilt of him. It's like us cat. He's talking about like the universal cats. Like us cats have kind of really put you guys in, you know, in dire straits, and he doesn't recognize the damage he does. Mm-hmm. Like during the riot, he stands up on that car when Duke gets shot. Duke's trying to get him off of that car when he gets shot. Yeah. And then everybody gets shot, everybody gets bombed, but nobody shoots at Fritz.
Right, he gets away scot-free.
They're not even looking for him. They walk past him.
Yeah, the cops go right by him.
But he thinks he's a fugitive.
Right. Yeah, they don't even care about him, really.
They don't give a shit about him.
Although I will say it was kind of funny when he gets on the car and someone tells him to get the fuck off his car. Yeah. Hey, get the fuck off my car, man. Like, all right, that's kind of funny. I thought he was going to get his ass beat, which he should have.
He should have, but yeah. So as I think we bring it back, so the bartender and Duke kind of almost get into like a knife fight in the bar because of Fritz calling the bartender a boy, and then one of the other patrons kind of like tries to hold Duke back and is like, hey, here, there's party going on, you totally got to go. And then that kind of diffuses the situation, and Duke's like, all right, we're leaving, let's go. Let's go. Are you ready to? What does he say?
Swing or something like that? Not
No.
swing.
Are you ready to ball out or something like that?
You ready to get lit? That's what he says.
And then
I forget what and Fritz says it and everyone laughs at him, right?
yeah, because he talks like a white kid.
Right.
I'm ready to ball out.
Right. That's what I said 5 seconds ago. That's essentially what he said, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's turn up, guys.
Hey, fellow teens.
Right.
So they leave the bar. Duke finds a car that isn't locked, so he decides to steal it. And Fritz pushes him out of the driver's seat and decides to drive because Fritz knows better than everybody. And sure enough, another moment where Duke is punished for the actions of Fritz. He hits one of the pig cops who's been transferred to Harlem after the events in the synagogue and almost shoots Duke almost immediately right in the face. But the pig gets tossed into a black church and his pants fall down and we get to see Pig Dick. And then one of the parishioners hits him in the head with a crucifix. Fritz continues to drive like a maniac, smashing into a milk truck on the George Washington Bridge and then driving the car off the bridge where Duke has to save his life. Duke takes Fritz to a nightclub where they meet Big Bertha, who's a prostitute, and Big Bertha gets Fritz super high, and he chases her down the street into a junkyard from out of nowhere, and they're about to fuck. That's right, a cat and a crow are about to fuck when she takes a look at his dick, and well,
we've all been there, right, guys?
She says he's not black enough for him.
Hey, listen, I mean, if I had a dime.
So this insinuates that
his
dick is too. This insinuates that his dick is too small. But then they wind up fucking anyway.
She's so nice about it, right? I mean, I've never heard of that happening, ever, right? Like, oh, you're not big enough. Who cares? Come over here. It never escalates beyond that point, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like once you're told that you got a small dick, it's game over, man.
There's no coming back from that. You're probably not gonna get hard.
Right. Because that's all I would think about.
Yeah.
Like, even while I was going to town, it's like, God, is she feeling anything? She just 2 seconds ago she insulted me, and now I'm in her guts.
Big Bertha's still got to get paid.
I guess. What happens in this scene? She's talking about how she misses white money, and then Fritz comes in and she mean mugs him, right? Mm-hmm. And then she's banging him.
Well, yeah, so she has like this whole conversation with one of the hustlers where she's just like, man, back in the day before all these peaceful protests and all this stuff, white people used to spend their money all the time up in Harlem, basically having sex with black women for money. And she's like, it's all because of this civil rights and shit like that. Now it's hard finding some money. And that guy's like, nothing's wrong with the race or the protests. But then I guess Fritz walks in with his wide-eyed white college kid face, and she's like, oh, I'm about to fleece this kid for all the money that he has.
I don't know if she does or not, but I want to take a second out of the podcast to thank you, Ant, for explaining all of this to me, because this stuff it's like a second language. I have no clue.
I'll gladly be your Sherpa through Fritz the cat.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think we get to that point with if she fleeced or not, because he literally leaves mid-sex with her to start the revolution.
Yep, he has a moment of clarity mid-coitus, and
that was the word I was looking for, and I couldn't think of it.
He just goes on and on about the revolution, and he jumps on a car and starts talking about rising up and taking down the oppressors. Cops show up, and Fritz points them out as the source of the crow's problems. The crowd then turns on the cops, who in turn open fire on the crowd. Many people get shot. Duke tries to get Fritz to safety, and he gets shot himself. And I'd say this is the most and possibly only effective moment of the movie.
It's dark.
Yeah.
It's so
dark. Thematically and kind of how they portray it in this moment is he gets shot, and then you hear his heartbeat as personified or as represented by the pool balls going into the hole, and it gets slower and slower until his heartbeat stops. and he dies there on the car and bleeds out into the street. And this is again the white kid causing trouble because of his privilege of that nothing's going to harm him, and nothing does.
Yeah, he's only thinking of himself essentially, and god damn it, like that's so. I know I said dark, but holy shit, man! I watching that scene, it depressed me.
Yeah, it's a very depressing scene. It's a very sobering moment in a movie that I think does not work for a lot of it, but it definitely works here. I'll give credit where credit's due. This is I don't know what point we're trying to get besides what I've already mentioned. But yeah, I think that point could also be made without the depiction that they've created for African American people in this. I think that works just fine without it.
I give, like you said, I do give it credit with the pool balls representing the heartbeat. I thought that was an interesting usage, and that's probably the only part of this movie where I thought that was well played. You know,
yeah.
Like, oh, okay, I like that. Everything else, animation wise, is just pure shit. and after this scene, after such a harrowing scene where they bring in fucking fighter jets for no reason, I don't know why they did that. So they bring in fighter jets to like bomb sweep or sweep bomb.
Yeah, carpet bomb
Harlem. Bomb. Yeah, they carpet bomb Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next scene is like Fritz hiding out in a garbage can making sex jokes.
Yeah.
Like what? Come on, man.
Yeah, they carpet bomb Harlem 13 years ahead of Philadelphia.
Okay, good. I wasn't the one that was going to mention it.
Fritz creates the revolution, and everybody dies except for him. And he hides out in a garbage can waiting for his friend Winston. And she finds him in the garbage can, and she basically says, "You need to get out of the city. I got a car. Let's head west. Shit's happening that way, man." So they start driving, and eventually Winston gets hungry, and she wants to stop. Now, here's the question. Winston isn't one of the three girls, right?
No.
I thought she was.
Because they're, like, the character designs are very similar.
I think she might be the same animal as one of them, but I don't think it's the same person.
Okay.
Yeah, they look strikingly similar.
But very different in terms of their how they're characterized.
Because is she a girlfriend or a friend? It makes it sound like she's a girlfriend or someone who likes him.
Yeah, somebody that's been in his life and he can't commit or whatever.
Right, but she's very stern.
Yeah. Well, I don't think if African American people don't make out too well in this movie, neither do women.
That's true. Yeah, she comes off as very bitchy.
Yeah. And really, she's telling Fritz everything he needs to hear, and he just completely ignores her.
Yep. Yeah, like pretty much like she's dumb.
Yeah, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the also subtle shot at San Francisco in this.
Mm-hmm. What was it?
Yeah, where she goes, "Oh, we're gonna head out to Frisco. You know, things are happening there." And I guess it's the whole doing the Summer of Love '69. You know.
Yeah.
You know how that became like the epicenter of that.
Sure. So they start driving, and then she's just like, "I'm hungry," and he's like, "Yeah, let's go to a truck stop because I want to talk to all the truckers and just get into their heads about what it's like to be a truck driver and just driving all over this country." So she takes him to a Howard Johnson, and he's not happy about it. I guess this is a joke that would probably play better in the 70s.
Yeah.
Like, Howard Johnson? Truck drivers don't go to Howard Johnson. And who fucking knows where Howard Johnson is right now?
Nope.
And then we cut away, and we meet a neo-Nazi heroin-shooting rabbit biker and his horse girlfriend that live in the middle of the desert. And the rabbit goes driving away on the road, but is enticed back by his girlfriend with heroin. Meanwhile, Winston's car breaks down in the middle of the desert, and Fritz doesn't know how to fix it because he has no discernible skills to translate into the outside world. And a farmer stops to try and help them, and he beats all his chickens to death with a board and says he fixed it. And he takes one look at the car and says the car ran out of gas, you idiots. You gotta put gas in the car every once in a while. And then he leaves. And he's like, "There's a gas station about a mile back the other way. I'm going this way. Peace out, bitches."
So we're not talking about the animal abuse in this?
Oh yeah, it was frightening.
Yeah, he beats all the chickens to fucking death with a board and a nail.
Yep.
It's very everything about this movie is just bad. Everyone's bad.
Yep.
Everyone's bad except the white people are bad. All the white people are bad in this movie.
Yeah. He's also got some really good aim that he could, with one nail on that board, that he could kill all of those chickens.
So now, doesn't his entire product become useless?
You would think.
They're all dead. What are you going to do with them?
Depends on how close he is to where they were dropping off anyway.
Yeah, I guess. But all I'm saying is that guy can go to hell.
Look,
all right?
If I was buying chickens, I would want them to be alive.
Right. I mean, that's just smart business sense, right?
Like, I kill my chickens. Don't do my job for me.
Right. Yeah, who knows how far he has to go. By the time he gets there, they're just rotting corpses. Like, oh, here you go. Here's your 100 chickens. They're all dead. Well, you didn't specify if you wanted them alive or not.
Yep.
Sorry. I fixed them for you.
So Winston verbally dresses down Fritz and tells him to go get gas. She basically tells him everything that he should hear and take to heart, but he just kind of, does the yap, yap, yap kind of hand signal to the camera and ignores her completely and walks off. And I guess she never, as far as the end of the movie, she is there waiting for him to get back with gas for the rest of the runtime. So he walks off and then immediately just dumps the gas bucket that she gave him. Then we meet back up with the horse and the tweaked out rabbit, and we get in a sense that this is a very abusive relationship.
It reminded me, I don't know if Mark has probably seen this, the Always Sunny episode where they go to the Jersey Shore.
Sure.
Did you ever see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Dee and Dennis get into a van with some people, and they're like, "Oh, are these guys cool?" We go, "Yeah, they're cool." And they think they're just gonna go party, and they wind up like robbing a liquor store and doing drugs. That's exactly what this scene was.
Yeah. And even the person that gets victimized in all this has a moment where they're kind of a despicable person in the scene right before that.
Right, when she kind of entices him back with heroin, just kind of an enabler.
Yeah, and then also, using the F word.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Good point. Mark, you're just bringing up all these things I had forgotten. And it's just bumming me out, man.
Yeah. So Fritz meets these two, and Fritz and the rabbit have some words about the revolution. And the rabbit's like, "Hey, you're honest. We could probably use a guy like you. Why don't you come with us, meet some of my friends?" And he's like, "Sure." So they drive to a cemetery, and they introduces him to John, a fighter for the cause, who is some sort of lizard that's in a cloak, and then another lizard, female lizard, that is talking about the revolution. I think they got a whole bunch of ammunition, and explosives that they're setting off some explosions to start the revolution. And then the horse girlfriend wants the rabbit to pay attention to her. She's like, "Every time you're with your friends, you never pay attention to me." And so instead of paying attention to her, the rabbit beats her with a chain, and then his friends help him gang rape her.
That seems like a weird time to start complaining that your boyfriend's not paying attention to you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. You're there to plan some sort of massacre, I'd imagine, right? They had bombs and guns and all that. So you'd think you want to lay low until after the meeting. Like, all right, I'll let him hang with his friends. I'll let him have his time, and then we'll shoot up heroin afterwards. There's plenty of time for that.
Yeah. So she gets, and this is one of the most harrowing scenes where she just gets the shit beat out of her.
She gets absolutely annihilated. I felt bad for this cartoon.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine if any of them were in like Roger Rabbit? Right? It's like, oh, that's the horse that got the shit kicked out of it by the tweaked out Nazi bunny and the lizard. And just, like Jessica Rabbit's there, like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on here? This is not supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
But that's the crossover we need. Fritz and Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just what is it? The goo or
the dip?
The dip. They should all be just thrown in the dip. Every single character in the dip, no problems. And you could lower them in with the, how they did it at the end. It's like some of them, like Fritz, should really suffer.
Yeah.
So you just like dip them in a little by little, and just like let him know that he's a real complete shithead. So let's make this happen. Who do we call?
I think Ralph Bakshi's still alive.
Is he?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I guess. I know that comes off as like really mean, but he made this, so.
Yeah. And he made it, and it pissed off Robert Crumb.
Yeah, and Robert Crumb's a saint. I know nothing about him, but I know he's a saint.
Well, I don't know if he's a saint.
I don't know anything.
I mean, if he was offended by by this.
And this was his creation, you said, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he's a golden god compared to Ralph Bakshi here.
Yeah.
So
he hated this so much he killed Fritz the cat in the comics.
Ooh, I gotta look that up because that sounds beautiful. I hope it was like a really gruesome death.
I believe it was with an ice pick by his girlfriend.
Ooh, gangland style. Nice. I'm gonna look it up.
Barrio Aztecas. So after she is raped and beaten, Fritz tries to comfort the horse, who we find out his name's Harriet. But then one of the lizard neo-Nazi tells him to get in the car, and she's filled the car with explosives and head to a power plant. Fritz helps her plant explosives while he's tells her off about what a real revolution is, and he has an epiphany about love being the answer to revolution. And he's like, I'm not going to plant these explosives after he's already done it. And the neo-Nazi lights the explosives and then leaves. And
essentially like, peace, fucker.
Yep. Yeah. Peace out, Fritz. It's go time. And then lights it and it explodes. And then we get some stock footage of some explosions and nuclear fallout. And then we have a fade out. We fade back into Hollywood, where in a hospital specifically, where Fritz is being held under police surveillance while he's in the hospital room. But a nun comes in, and the three girls from the beginning come in. The nun turns out to be Harriet, the horse. And then Fritz wakes up and he starts saying his kind of hype song, his poem of sorts, which is all a bunch of bullshit. And then he addresses the three girls and they fuck again. And that's the end of it.
Goes out on a real high note.
Yeah. It's the end of Fritz the Cat. He learns nothing. Yeah, that whole song is all about him fighting good men and fucking good women, and like he doesn't fight anybody. Nope. He almost gets his ass kicked, but he
gets bailed out
of it. Bailed out. And then the only person that fucks him between the first scene and last scene is Big Bertha, who took pity on him.
Yeah, I think at one point he says he's been to all the four corners of the world. He's seen everything and done everything. He's done nothing.
Yep.
He's never left New York, as far as I know. And he's just a real shithead.
He's a real shithead, and that's Fritz the Cat.
I'm looking at the comic strip of him dying. It's pretty awesome. His girlfriend, who I'm assuming is an ostrich.
Yeah, I think so.
It's some type of bird. Just takes an ice pick right to the back of the skull, and it's glorious. There's a chonk sound effect in there. There's even a little word box that points to the ice pick, and she says, "Hi yourself, asshole," and he's dead. He's dying on the ground.
Yeah, I think he makes a misogynist joke, so she kills him.
Yeah, what is it? He kicks her in the butt. Here's one final gesture of my love before I go. And then, he calls her a foolish female. And she runs up on him, does him dirty.
Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been happier to see a cartoon animal die.
Yeah.
This guy sucks.
He absolutely does. He's the worst. In a movie full of terrible characters, we follow the worst one.
Yeah. And like you said, I get what he was trying to. I get the message that they were trying to come across here, where these rich entitled white people are thinking that they're starting a revolution, helping African Americans, whoever, and they're really the cause of it, or they're just so ill informed that it causes more problems.
Yeah, I don't know what his answer to that is, though.
But
I think that's the biggest thing.
He totally misses the mark.
Yeah, like, well, okay, you're criticizing this, but what's the answer to? Is it these people not help.
Right, and like no one gives him a lesson, right? None of the crows sit him down and explain anything.
Right.
Duke tells him, you're not going to understand our plight unless you're one of us. Unless you're a black person, you're not going to understand the plight of the black man.
Right.
But other than that, no one really explains to him how to affect real change.
Right. And I don't think he would listen either. I think that's
It's
the point.
possible. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm glad he's dead, even though he's fictional. I hope he never comes back.
I don't think so. I think Robert Crumb has passed on. So.
Well, Hollywood should stay away from this. Don't reboot it. I don't want some fucking suit at Paramount or whatever to come across like, oh, this made $90 million in 1972. We got to do this again. And we'll get Billy Crystal to voice.
Yes.
I feel like Billy Crystal would probably rather throw himself off a building than voice Fritz the cat.
Yeah, he's like, I got Monsters Inc. money. I don't need to do this.
Yeah,
shit.
I don't need this.
James Woods on.
Oh, James Woods. James Woods is probably the number one on the Kickstarter. Help me reboot Fritz the cat.
There's got to be
to
someone
own the
out
libs.
there. Right, there's got to be someone out there. It's like, yeah, Fritz the cat, man, really speaks to me. And I pity that person.
Is there anything you would do to make this better?
Yeah, like I said, I think it would be pretty cool to put Fritz the cat into Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where it's kind of like Roger versus Fritz, and just like Roger just beats the shit out of Fritz the cat, and you get the other cartoon characters in there. You get Mickey, you get Bugs, and they just take turns.
And you just have the cutaway that's like the Simpsons thing, where they yell that he's already dead.
Right. Stop it. He's already... And they just keep going. They just desecrate his body. It'll be great. Man, in terms of making it better, obviously you can't have it X-rated because you're not going to be able to do much with it. Although, I guess, joke's on me because this made a shit ton of money, so I guess you can do stuff with it.
Ant would probably know better than definitely me. It said at the end, the X rating was for 16 and over.
Yes. I like how they leave it towards the end of the movie, by the way. Like, oh, by the way, you just watched an X-rated movie. No shit. Thank you. I couldn't have figured that out with all the cat vagina and horse dick that I've seen in this movie.
Was that pretty standard in the early 70s, that X was 16 and over?
Yeah, I mean, it's the precursor to NC-17 more than Rated R, because Rated R allows kids with parental guidance. But this is no admittance to anyone under 16.
Yeah, I don't know. How could you possibly make this better? I mean, you definitely make the characters who are representing black people not crows. That's number one. Mm-hmm. You can make them any other animal. Any animal. Doesn't matter. Dog, cat, your choice. There's a ton of animals out there. I'm actually surprised they didn't go the more obvious route. I don't know if I want to say it,
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, this is obviously in that time period that also sufficed. That animal sufficed, I guess.
It was very simple. The reason he chose a crow is because crows are always depicted as like jet black in their feet.
Right. Dumbo. Was it Song of the South? I think.
Yeah.
That. Just all so racist.
Yep.
I don't know how we've done this. I really don't get it. I really don't.
Yeah, well, so many of the cartoons back then. I mean, there's that whole thing on Disney Plus where they have to put like a thing before the movie, going, things were different when this movie was created.
Have they put any of that stuff on there? I know Looney Tunes did it.
I think on Disney Plus they have done certain. With certain.
Yeah, a lot of the older Mickey stuff and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's good to see where we've come as a society, as how far we have progressed. But like, god damn, man, we let a lot of things slide. Like, I wonder if someone's out there. You know how you have the certain people who are like, oh, life was so much better back in the day, where people weren't easily offended. Like, do you think that this is okay? Like, is this what you're talking about? Like, yeah, right. No one was offended by this. It is, right, Mark?
This is exactly what they're talking about. They want to be able to say this shit.
Right.
And be this way towards women.
I want to be able to show Fritz the cat at a movie theater and not feel guilty about it.
I want to be able to use the words used in this movie, and
Right.
even the one from a deck of cards.
Right.
Want to be able to use that. Want to be able to just grab a woman by the breast when I'm trying to, seduce her,
Right.
and it not be an issue.
Yeah, that's my move.
Right. You're taking my thunder.
Mark, is there anything that you would do to make this movie better?
And have I don't know. I was going to say have Duke just pull a gun out and kill Fritz in the bar, but yeah, there's not much you can do because, like I said, it's one of those things where everything we would suggest to make it better are the very obvious things.
Yeah.
It would be the same way like I made the point at the beginning of the podcast. It not to the same extent because it's not, but it would be like asking someone like 10 years from now who's currently 13 to watch either the South Park movie or even maybe even Sausage Party or something like that, and have them ask them how to make it better because their response would be, I just make a completely different movie. Right. It just feels like being 2 generations removed from the satire means I would pull 90% of this movie out.
Sure. You're saying anything you would say would lose the essence of what this movie actually is.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I would say there's a couple, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that there is a lot of things I would remove. I think if you're going to be simple with it, he's either got to die in that explosion and not come back and roll credits at that point, or he has to come out of that with a moment of realization. There needs to be a lesson learned, because I think that's what's missing for me in terms of the satire. If, like, as I said before, like if Bakshi's point is that, progressive white people are causing more problems than they're solving by putting their nose in civil rights, then what's his solution is a question for me. Is like, well, then if these people are trying to be allies, regardless of them being more harm than good, then what's his solution for how they could be better at that? Yeah. If that's his point. Otherwise, it's just a whole bunch of crows in this movie. If you're not trying to bring a message across that is more progressive than the progressives that you're criticizing, if you're not doing that, then what are you doing? Then you're showing black people as crows and very racist at that. And I think from a 48-year perspective, I think a lot of that is lost without that end button of, at the very least, if there is no answer, then at the very least Fritz recognizing the kind of harm he's done to a lot of people, rather than just playing his song at the end and not learning a fucking thing. Yeah. Like, he doesn't even he never notices that Duke is killed.
No.
Yeah, they don't mention him again.
Nope. He dies alone in the street, in the gutter, and
that's sad.
Fritz pays no mind to it. He is unaware of the effect that he has on the world around him.
Yeah, pretty terrible.
Yeah. So that's an uplifting story.
I was gonna say that, like, there's no redeeming quality in this movie.
No.
If you listen to this, I hope you're sad by proxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a different reading to this movie that shows that it's not everything we just said, I would love to hear it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and he even found a way to cheap out on the music rights by buying that Billie Holiday song for $35.
Yep.
Which is
fuck to get that song for $35.
Billie Holiday.
Yeah, I feel like, again, there's nothing of nothing worthwhile.
Yeah, it almost doesn't even feel right to plug our shit at the end of this episode.
Yeah, right, because then it's, I don't know. This was a black hole of a movie.
Yeah, we can just do the bare minimum. We have Stranger Things, Game Vault, Twitch, Twitter. You guys know at this point.
Yep. We got some reflecting to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna go bathe in some bleach or something. Yes. I don't know.
Yeah. So join us next week when we cover Black Devil Doll, right, Dan?
Oh God. At least that movie is fucking just ridiculously bonkers and not in like a. It doesn't take itself seriously. That's a fucking masterpiece compared to this movie, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
This
Yeah. So I think honestly, I think we're gonna forego kind of the plugs because it doesn't seem to be the right note to end on when we got serious actually on this podcast for probably the first time ever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, aren't we a comedy podcast?
I think we mined what we could out of this. I don't regret doing this movie. I think it's an interesting movie to cover because of its cultural significance. And it sucked, so that's still right up our alley.
So listen, don't ever make us do something like this again. All right, just don't. That's it. Don't.
Maybe I should give you guys some veto power.
I mean, I'm too lazy to veto anything. Once you recommend something, I just kind of go, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that.
No, like I said, I'm glad we did it because I think it's a change of pace in a way, but I think it still hits the what we're trying to do here.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of comedy to mine in this movie. Absolutely, I think it would be a disservice to the movie that we just watched to, just try and say some one-liners.
I mean, you could say whatever you want to justify watching this, Ant.
Sure.
If that makes you feel better.
It does. All right.
I'm with you.
I think that's gonna wrap it up this week. We'll be back next week. Next week is going to be St. Patrick's Day, so that means Leprechaun. So it'll be a little more. It'll be a little more upbeat next week. But
yeah, I'm breathing a sigh of relief already. It's a huge weight lifted off my chest now.
All right, so that's gonna wrap it up for us. Check us out next week. We'll be back. The director of Fritz the Cat is Ralph Bakshi. So I don't think we've ever meant it more than this week. For Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Del Vecchio telling Ralph Bakshi to go fuck himself.